Abraham and his wife Sarah were very rich. They had lots of camels, lots of possessions, and many servants. But they were missing something very important. They had no children. One day, God gave Abraham a promise that he would have many descendants, more than the stars in the sky or the sand on the seashore. Impossible, thought Abraham. I'm too old to have kids. My wife is too old. Sarah did not believe the promise and could not wait, so she decided to give her servant Hagar to Abraham so he could conceive a child with her. And so they did. A boy named Ishmael was born. Though Sarah made her own plans, God did not break his promise. Even though it was physically impossible for Abraham and Sarah to have any kids, God gave them a baby boy. Abraham was 100 and his wife Sarah was 90 when they had a precious child. They named him Isaac. As Isaac grew older, Abraham loved him even more. He taught him about God, and Isaac was a daily reminder of God's faithfulness and promise. But then, something happened. God was going to give Abraham a test. God told Abraham, "Take your son Isaac, sacrifice him to me." Abraham was heartbroken. But he loved God. He knew that he must obey God. He knew that God was good and that God would keep his promises and provide another sacrifice. Early the next morning, Abraham, Isaac, and some servants set out to sacrifice to God. They loaded up the donkey with wood and traveled for 3 days to get to the right place. It was called Moriah. They climbed the mountain, and Abraham built an altar. Isaac did not see any animals for the sacrifice and did not understand what Abraham was about to do. Abraham assured Isaac that God would provide the offering himself. With tears in his eyes, pleading to God, Abraham tied up his son upon the altar. He was grieved beyond description. He was heartbroken. Then Abraham lifted the knife to offer his son's life as a sacrifice. But something happened. A voice spoke. "Abraham, Abraham." It was an angel's voice, speaking for God. "Don't harm the boy. I know that you fear God, since you were willing to sacrifice your son in obedience to God." Then the voice told Abraham to look at a nearby bush. There was a ram caught in a thicket. Abraham was overjoyed. His son Isaac would live. God had provided a sacrifice. God would always keep his promises. Abraham took the ram and sacrificed it to the Lord. It was a beautiful lesson God showed Abraham. One day, the Messiah, Jesus, God's only Son, would be given in a similar way as the sacrifice for the sin of all mankind.
Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, no. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, no. For he who promised is faithful, faithful. For he who promised is faithful. For he who promised is faithful, faithful. He's faithful. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, no. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, no. For he who promised is faithful, faithful. For he who promised is faithful. For he
always faithful to his many promises made long ago. To you, to me, he says hold on. He makes our lives with a wait, you know. Jesus Christ, a great reward for every heart has been longing for. From Abraham to the day Jesus Christ has been the way. So we said, as we lift our hands up high, we trust God beyond our sight. As we lift our hands up high, we trust God beyond our sight. As we lift our hands up high, we trust God beyond our sight. As we lift our hands up high, we trust God beyond our sight. We trust Him beyond our sight. What? We lift our hands up high. We trust Him. We trust Him.
Faithful. For he who promised is faithful, faithful. For he who promised is faithful. I know. For he who promised is faithful, faithful. He's faithful.